Hello and welcome to this special audio presentation. It's the top 20 things that older men must know if they want to take their body, their level of fitness, building muscle, losing body fat, living a long, healthy, energetic life to the next level. 20 things that you must know when you're older, right? This presentation, it all started when I was looking for all kinds of ways how to break through to the men, maybe a little bit older, busy, productive lives. Some of them have been training for years, some of them just maybe for months, but they're all older, different lifestyle, different priorities, all right? When I started focusing on men just like you, if you're in that category, right? There was certain thinking patterns, certain obstacles, certain challenges that are common, not just with fitness, but these are thinking patterns that are very specific to older men, our journey, our priorities. That's what workouts for older men is all about. It's not that the body does so many things differently, the response may be differently, but is what path, what strategies are the most effective and efficient for older men, our lifestyles, our priorities, and that's what makes the difference. And all I've been talking to in the last 7 years is older men just like you under those conditions. Not really focusing my attention on older men who have been training for 25 years, although I do talk to men like that. And the reason why is most men, especially if they don't do this professionally, right? You got a busy life, you raised your kids and your family, right? If you just go to the gym and you are consistent, you just lift weights and watch what you're going to improve, right? A lot of the men who are older who've been training for 25 years, they are really doing the same exact things that they did in year one, all right? Because that worked, and now they may not be where they want to be, but they really haven't been really open to different things. They've been just doing the same things over and over again. So although they've been training for 25 years, they're really training with a 1 year, that worked back in year one, mentality way of going about it. And they never figured out the nuance or pushed themselves. Well, what makes me different? Well, what makes me different is I tried all the strategies that you heard, everything that you hear, all right? I've done it, but I did it as I was trying to repeat as drug-free national champion, 6-time national champion. I mean, my reputation was online. It was everything in the world. It was my identity. So I didn't just do strategies. I would change them with 15 out of 10, not 10 out of 10, 15 out of 10 intensity, attention, that desire, that drive. So I really know what works and doesn't work in these last 34 years of working out. Not to mention, I talk to men just like you. That's the perspective I come from. And it's important that you understand that because you'll hear, well, everybody's different, right? Oh, there's so much information. I do what works for me, right? I'm going to talk more about that. But as I talk to men, I would use a certain analogy that the Pareto principle, the top 20 things that really matter, the 20 things that make the big difference, the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. Out of the 100 things that you hear, and I know with fitness you probably heard way more than 100 things, what are the 20 things that really matter? Because they all don't matter. There's a saying that says if everything's important, then nothing is. Right? A lot of men are spinning their wheels. They're uncertain. They're looking all over social media, especially for the younger, passionate fitness experts. But it could be older guys, and they're hearing all these things. They don't know what's important and what's not. All right, and it's really causing them a lot of frustration. They're falling short of their goal. They're putting their efforts. A lot of them are quitting. And so as I use that Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, to explain how this and a lot of things in life work, a lot of men would say, well, what are the 20? Well, I never really thought about it because there's probably more than 100 things that you hear. I don't know what you've heard. There's crazy things. And as we get more and more technologically savvy, where everybody has access to a great phone, a great camera, and to put their opinions, I mean, everybody who has an opinion now can post all their ideas. And if they are smart or they're attractive or they've got a good hook, that's interesting, which is really important, their videos are going to be far more popular and get on your feeds more than the rock solid information. So now more than ever, there's probably 500 things that are said over and over again, right? So I just use that as an analogy. But I was asked that question so much time, and I have literally in the last 7 years, and not to mention the last 34 years of doing this professionally, being on there, being a leader, writing for the Muscle magazines, creating DVDs, VHS tapes, audio courses, and all that. I've talked to thousands of men, really, whether it's a 5-minute conversation or it's a 12-week one-on-one coaching experience with them. A lot of times we go on to other things, and I've had men as long as 6 years coaching with me, right? There are common things. I said, I can pull out the top 20 things because I've heard it over and over and over again, all right? So that's what this is all about. I want to get into it, right to it, but I want to explain to where this comes from because it's really important that you understand the context, right? My experience, why it's different than all that other stuff that you hear, right? Let me just tell you this one thing. When you do hear all that information, what makes mine different? Why should you listen to me? It's a great question, right? You got to understand something. Before, it was so easy to just have a great camera and post your thoughts, your opinions, your physique, share your message on the internet. I was there before the internet, right? It was the first dial-up connection where you had to really work hard. There's a threshold of a lot of technology if you're going to get your message out there. Okay, so I've been doing it for a long time, all right? I can tell you when I was younger, that younger passionate fitness expert that I talk about, I didn't think about you, an older man with a busy, productive life. I didn't not think about you either. It was really about people wanted to know what I did, how I got so good. There's no way you can be drug-free. I said, hey, this is my integrity. This is the most important thing to me, right? So I got great joy and satisfaction and drive sharing my knowledge of training, nutrition, mindset, right? Articles after articles after articles. Like I said, VHS has DVDs or whatever. But it was primarily what I learned, what I did, and what worked for me. All right? I never, and again, the human body be the same if you have more testosterone or less testosterone and all those type of things. You know, generally, I guess you lose testosterone when you're older, but you could not have testosterone when you're younger. It's how you respond to all the training and nutrition, right? And that could be genetic as well as age and certain things, right? So I didn't climb it at one-on-one like I do with one-on-one coaching now. I didn't climb into their story, their situation, their specific goals. I just presented what worked for me, all right? That's what these younger guys are doing, whether they realize it or not, because I didn't realize it. I didn't step inside your shoes. They're busy doing it themselves. They don't know your situation, how they can, well, that's not important for this 55-year-old man. That isn't it. That isn't. All these things that I do aren't important, right? They're not going to think that way because that's why they're so passionate, because everything is important, and they're going to assume everything is important for you. They haven't made it to 55 years old yet to know that you don't have to do that for that 1% difference, even if it's optimal. You don't have to do it, and you can't do it. And if you get overwhelmed with all these things that don't matter, you're not going to do it. They don't know that yet, no matter what they say. I didn't, right? I didn't. It wasn't until like about 10 years ago, I was at this seminar, and it was a business seminar. It had nothing to do with fitness. And this one gentleman in this lounge, he came to me, "Are you Skip LaCour?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, and he was, I don't remember, he was like 40s or so, did not have a great physique. You could never tell he worked out. But he said to me, "Man, I bought all your stuff." He goes, "Man, you were hardcore." All right. This was probably a good 10 years after I finished competing. And it was the first time I really realized, oh, you're my customer, you're my client, right? And again, I must have known that, but not consciously to know that. Of course it's hardcore for him. He was talking about some high-level business. He didn't even know. He didn't even need to know or even hear 3/4 of the things that I had to say. It didn't matter for him to look better. I realized all of that overwhelmed him. It was what I did, what I passionately helped some people, right? I did tell him exactly what I did and what I learned, but it wasn't what he needed. And that's what's confusing. And let me tell you one more thing, is that the basic tried and true things, they're boring. They're boring to you. You think you already do them. They're boring to the fitness influence. They're never even talked about. They're never even talked about the things that really matter, the things that I'm telling you in this audio presentation. Let me say one other thing. Thank you so much for taking the extra step and filling out the questionnaire. I am going to follow up with you. I want to know that you listen to this recording. All right, I've made you jump through a hurdle, get through a hoop, jump through a hoop. And I did that intentionally because I want committed people. I post things on the internet all the time that's not listened to. I'm going to follow up with you. You might get a phone call or you get an email. All right. I want this to actually help you, not just more information, because there's plenty of information out there. All right. So let me tell you, these 20 things, right, they all tie in together. They all kind of weave a story of the basic organizing principles that make all of this work. Let me tell you, these may give you clarity, all right? And that's what I hope, clarity. Oh, wow, the way you explain that gives me clarity. That straightens that up. That makes sense, all right? It may give you validation if you've been doing this a while. You put in your effort, which you probably have if you're a type of person to fill out a questionnaire and even get this and even listen to it so far, right? It may give you validation that what you heard, what you understand, what you're doing is right. All right. And that's that would be great too. Right. But maybe these tips will get you a little bit more confused because you heard all the other stuff so often. All right. So what I have to say, I'm absolutely certain it will help you. It will I'm absolutely certain it will help you. But it may take you running with it with the absolute certainty, with that leap of faith, even if you aren't so certain. You do it, and then you feel it, and then you'll understand. Right? So it may raise some questions rather than solve them, and that's okay. I just wanted you to be prepared for this. But again, you'll see how these 20, how they all tie in together. Right? One other thing, I try to be nicer on the internet, more considerate. Right? This one, you're probably hearing a different tone. Right? This is what I do with my one-on-one coaching clients because it's my job to get them absolute clarity, get them to know this for the rest of their lives without me, all right, and feel certain about it, change their way of thinking and doing with their body so they enjoy all the building muscle, losing body fat, the longevity, the quality of life, and they have it forever without me. I'm a lot more direct. Now, there's a reason for that. Well, why don't you be that way on the internet? I know there's a lot of guys saying, get the F to work out. Do your effing workout. What's your effing excuse and all that, right? Well, see, the thing is, I know a lot of people are listening. I know there's different levels of commitment, right? There's different levels of desire. Last thing I want to do, if someone thinks, and they think, let's just say form, and I'll talk about that later. Oh, form is essential. You know, I got to have that really strict form. All right. You know, I'm not going to tell them about the nuance like I'm going to tell you here about form, what it does, what it doesn't do, and rock their sense of certainty. I'm not going to do that because they'll be in a worse place than if I didn't do that. And I don't have a chance one-on-one to explain the nuance that it will set them free and see the next level. All right. I don't want to rock some sense of certainty because many of them on the internet, I don't care how much they post, I don't care how much they say me, love me, or show up. They're not willing to change. They don't want it that bad enough. Right. It'll fall upon deaf ears. And I'm not a younger guy. I'm going to say things just to make myself look smart. Okay. Here's one other thing. And I'll use that same example in form. Why you're getting this misinformation, not getting the things that matter, like I'm telling you right here. All right. That's because there are so many of these things that you're going to hear that you just heard the opposite. Well, who is this skip guy telling me the opposite? And maybe you won't see it, that far of a stretch, but you certainly heard other things to the contrary. That's why I picked out the 20 things that mess you up, that you hear the contrary over and over and over again. All right. Let me tell you why. Most fitness experts, it's just human nature, right? They want to have approval. They're not going to make all these videos, get all ripped, share their passion knowledge for no money, just to get slammed, just to get ridiculed, just to get 0 views, just to tell people, well, this is what I do. Well, everybody's different, or you're wrong, whatever. I mean, that takes a really confident person to want to do all that. And I would even say, why even doing that? Why even waste your time? All right, trying to swim against the grain for people who aren't committed. All right, now look at the younger guys. Are they going to do that? Did you have that much confidence when you were younger? You're going to post something and it's going to go against what everybody heard. All right, you're going to get all these used, if you're, I don't know, trying to sell supplements or trying to sell coaching, whatever. Why would you even go there when the vast majority are going to say, that's not how it's done. I've been told over and over again, what do you know? You're not going to get likes. You're going to get thumbs down. Why would you do that? Why would you go in there? That would be your own ego, and I would even say that's even dumb. All right. Okay, and I'll explain that whole form later, but that's why they don't. They'll just stick to what everybody thinks. Oh, form's really important. Oh, the reason why you can't see your biceps or they don't have a peak is because you're out doing that form. Tuck that elbow in. All right, I'm not saying tucking your elbow in isn't going to make it maybe feel better, maybe make it closer to optimal. It's not going to matter. Again, I'm going to talk about this form thing, but I just want to tell you, that's why you're not hearing all this stuff, because it takes so much nuance. It really takes one-on-one, all right, and all tied together. And they're not going to just post videos just to get all the dislikes, likes, and views and ruin their credibility. That's why you're not getting this stuff. And that's why I had you jump through a little hoop and to fill out that questionnaire. And I'm going to follow up with you to see if you have any questions. If it makes sense to you. If it doesn't, that's fine. I want your feedback. I am trying my hardest to make this easier for older men with busy, productive lives. Any input you can give me would be great. But most of all, I want this to change the way you look at it, and I want you to have this forever. So it's really important. Now let me jump in to the 20 things, so to speak. All right, 1, weight training builds muscle. All right, that's what older men with busy lives should look to get out of their weight training, to build muscle. You overload the muscle, right? The muscle is not going to grow unless you demand it. And that's by more weight, better form, feeling, execution. You got to use it. You got to use it and test it. All right? That's what weight training is for, right? Oh, well, yeah, I know that, Skip. No. What a lot of men think that weight training, if you do a certain exercise, it will shape the muscle, maybe look a certain way, or carve up that man boobs if you did a chest press or a fly, because I guess they kind of feel it in their chest, or they do a lot of reps, okay, and that's going to get them lean to lose that body fat, or if they hurry from set to set to set, that's going to burn calories and get them lean. All right, look, you can do weight training, like for example, if you played, I guess, on a older man's flag football team or basketball team, or I don't know, whatever it is, softball, and you want to do weight training specific exercises to get more power, more jumping ability, or whatever. I mean, there is weight training for sports performance, or that type, more functionality, right? But for what we're talking about, weight training, pushing this, what you're doing in the gym, it's to build muscle. Every time you touch a weight, it's to build muscle. Again, I'm going to throw out that functionality if you play softball or older man basketball or whatever. All right? That's the only purpose, not to burn body fat, not even a combination of it. Think of it that way. Right? That's the way you should look at it. All right? Don't confuse yourself. Well, this isn't shaping the muscle. I need another weight training routine to shape the muscle. It doesn't work that way. Or I'm not getting cut up as fast as I want. I should do this routine. Okay? I should do more reps. I should, rest a shorter period of time, whatever. Weight training is to build muscle. There's 2 things you want to do. You want to build muscle and lose body fat. And in the process, you'll be healthy, fit, have the energy, longevity, sleep better, those type of things. But you got to remember, weight training is to build muscle. Only look at it from that perspective. Okay, number 2, how much you work out during your weight training session, all right? How much you do, all right? How long you do those training sessions, right? How often you train a body part, right? 2, 3 times a week, right? Okay. Got to understand, there is no right formula depending on your body, so the search goes on and on and on and on. Or this guy says this and this and this, all right? So how often you train, how long your training session, what you do, how much volume and all that stuff, it depends on what your goals are, okay? But really, how hard you hit it, okay? Now, again, I know you work hard, you're following through and everything like that, but there are some guys, while you're picking up that 20-pound dumbbell, they do the same amount of sets and reps you, and they just understand how it works, or they took a gas earlier and they're picking up a 40-pound dumbbell. So you can do the same exercise, same length. If they are doing it with more intensity because they understand this process and they picked up a 40 while you think 20 is the right amount, they're getting more out of what they're doing. All right? So pick a routine and learn how to get the most out of it. Now, when I coach men, I just tell them, we're going to do this amount of reps, this rep range. We're going to do this workout in this order, this many days. Okay, that's what your goals are. You just want to lose some fat. You're not trying to be a bodybuilder, this or that. But then I explain to them why they're doing these exercises in this order, this much volume, being in the gym that long, how often they train, what the rep scheme is. All right, they know what they're doing. They grow in it to get the most out of it. All right, that's the truth. So I can tell you, oh, you should do this. This is generally this, and this, and you hear all this, but it's really, if you take that routine and you've been sold that that's the best for you, and you pick up a 20-pound when you really pick up a 40-pound, but you don't understand the organizing principles, you're not going to get the same as somebody else who understands it. All right. So yeah, you just need to pick one, but then you got to learn how to grow into it. All right. 3, there is no magic rep scheme. By rep scheme, 6 to 8 reps, 10 to 15. I see guys 10 to 20, 4 to 6, whatever the rep range is. Okay, there is no magic rep range that does a certain thing. Like this builds strength. This maintains what you have. This rep range, right? I don't know, 4 to 6 builds strength. 6 to 8 maintains what you have. 8 to 10 builds muscle, and then 12 to 15 cuts fat, or any other combination does a combination of all those things, all right? That's not how it works. It works based on intensity, okay? And again, I'll talk about it. Weight training doesn't cut fat. It's to build muscle, all right? Okay, so you got to pick a rep range, all right, that challenges you. So when you put that weight down, safely, of course, right? You never push yourself. You never hurt yourself. But when you push that weight, right, it's almost all you can do. So if you're doing 8 to 10, that weight would be lighter than if you did heavier and you did, 4 to 6 or 6 to 8. It all should be heavy at the end, whatever rep range you choose. And you should have a rep range, not just 10. Everyone should challenge you, and you're not going to hit the bullseye every time of just 10. It should be 8, 9, or 10. They all work because you may not be as strong in the second and third set if that's what you do, right? But the key thing is, I look in the mirror, I want my body to look like this. Oh, so this is the rep range for me. No, your intensity, all right? That's what makes the rep range works to meet your goal, right? So when I line guys out, I make it 6 to 8, but I teach them how to grow into it. But I could do it with 12 to 15. They would use lighter weight. I could do it 4 to 6, but they have to do heavy weight. And again, all of this is all based around you being safe. All right. Okay. Number 4, changing your workout doesn't prevent you from plateauing, getting stagnant, or causes your body not to improve. Right. So and this is a very common thing. You got to switch your routine and there's different amounts every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, every 8 to 10 weeks. Some men think they got to change their routine, every workout, every week. All right. Because they don't like what they're seeing in the mirror. They have too much fat. They're not building muscle. They're not seeing their muscle. Right. And when they see that stagnation, that plateau, they think they got to change their routine. Look, what keeps your body from plateauing is progressive overload. It's pushing yourself mentally, right? All right, can you pick up that 40-pound, or is it really 20 pounds? All right, you got to challenge yourself mentally, right? That progressive overload, doing 1 more rep, 5 more pounds, better form, feeling, execution. You're not going to go up in reps or weight every time. And pretty soon it might be a couple reps over the course of an entire chest workout. It might be 2 reps after you progress and progress, but it's striving for more. That's what keeps the body from getting confused, not changing routine. You change your routine too often, you're never going to get in a groove. You're never going to see mentally how strong you can get, whereas if you did it for a longer stretch of time, like 10 weeks. So when you look in that mirror, especially if you got too much body fat, do not assume that's because your body adapted to the training routine. That's not it. I know you hear that a lot of times, all right? That's what keeps personal trainers in business. They're thinking you got to change your routine all the time. All right? Form. Right now I'm going to talk about this form thing. All right, look. If you want to challenge yourself safely, of course, I can't say that enough. If I posted on this internet, oh, that's what ruined my joints. That's what, you're going to get hurt. Older man can't bend over and do all that. Nobody should do what they can't do. People have different strengths, levels of ability, of execution, different goals, different levels of desire. I get it. But don't assume nobody can't do what you don't want to do or you can't do. Whatever it is, it's to challenge yourself. And when you challenge yourself, you're not going to have perfect form, maybe at the end. But I'll tell you this, maybe the last 2 aren't perfect form, but you said, man, I was using a 60-pounder. I mean, I did 6 of those great. Last 2, maybe I cheated a little, but I did it safely. I think I can get those. And in 2 weeks, you are getting all 8 of those reps you shot for. With that 60 pounds, and now you're ready to progress more and more over time. If you put yourself in a box like every time I lift a weight, every single rep has to be perfect form, you're not going to grow mentally. You're not going to challenge yourself, right? All right, never hurt yourself, but form doesn't need to be perfect, you hear all these things, ego lifters. Man, I don't see all these ego lifters. I've been in the gym for 34 years. I don't see all these ego lifters that everybody on the internet talks about. All these guys with, busting themselves. Again, always be safe. I'm not saying all 8 reps, just do whatever to get it up. But if the last 2, you're all right, while you're staying safe, that's what challenges you more. And I'll tell you, you're going to be a stronger person with that mentality rather than staying in the box forever. I have men that have never changed their weight in a couple of years, and they wonder why they're not growing. Oh, but my form has to be perfect. Here's another thing. You look at that mirror, you're kind of too fat, you don't see your muscle. It's not because you didn't use perfect form. That's what a lot of guys, these personal trainers, they capitalize on this whole form thing. And they make you think, oh, man, I should have tucked my elbow in 10 degrees like he said. That's why I look this way in the mirror. That is not why. He may be true. It may be optimal, may feel better. He may be right, okay? But if you're lifting up, it's not making that much of a difference. So when you look in that mirror, don't assume it's your form, right? Okay, because taxing yourself, overload, is what's important to build muscle. And remember, that's the only reason why we train with weights, right, as we're older, right? You got to rest as long as possible in between sets, all right? Okay, you want to get as close to 100% of your strength back. You've done that, right? You were planning, maybe you used to do 30 seconds or, whatever, and someone was on the machine or you got a phone call or you got interrupted. And instead of 30 seconds, you waited, a minute and a half, and you were so much stronger. You got more reps with that same weight, right? You want to get as close as 100% of your strength back, right? To get that overload, right? That's everything, and it builds momentum. And before you're just a monster lifting all this weight safely, of course, right? Because you understand the mental part of it, all right? Again, you're not trying to be conditioned athlete like who can, in flag football, you ran a sweep, older man flag football, I guess, you ran a sweep, and it's a hurry-up offense, and then you're running the next play, they run to you. Hurrying up between sets and sets may help you perform one play after another in flag football, right? Functionality, sports performance, I can see where pushing yourself with the weights and then resting not very long and then doing it again will help for that. But we're trying to build muscle, right? Overload is the key. You want to rest as long as possible without losing your focus, your rhythm, all right? Again, it's all about overload. That's why we're lifting weights. You want to rest as long as possible. You are not burning more calories. I mean, I know you'd think so by hurrying up, This whole weight training isn't burning calories, anything significant. And when they say, oh, well, building muscle helps you burn calories, man, that is so insignificant in the big picture. Maybe technically true. I'm going to talk about that. And when we talk about building muscle and all this puzzle and all these pieces that I'm putting together. So rest as long as possible, right? Let's talk about cardio, right? Okay, cardio is not going to magically strip off your body fat. As a matter of fact, if you do too much cardio, it'll kind of, your body will adapt to it and actually fight for burning off fat. All right. So cardio is not going to magically strip you from body fat. Your diet will. I'm going to talk about the organizing principles, the top 20 things that you must know. All right. And I'm going to be talking about nutrition, how all this ties together, this puzzle. All right. Cardio burns calories. It's helpful in the process, right? But you need to rely on your diet, okay, to burn those calories and not cardio. I know you're sweating. I know you're consistent, but we've all seen that guy in the gym. That good guy in the gym usually trains in the morning. He's bigger, fat, he's sweating, a nice guy, right? He's there every single morning. He's not getting any leaner. It's not his metabolism. It's not his hormones. So he's not watching diet because he thinks that cardio is burning so many calories that he should get leaner. And when you do see a guy who gets leaner, trust me, it wasn't just that cardio. He did things with his diet. Here's the other thing about cardio, though. Cardio will not melt away your muscle gains. There's so many men who say, well, I heard cardio from the younger guys. They don't do cardio, right? Because they just want to be big and huge. That's their young ego, man. We got to do this for health, right? Cardio does not melt off all your hard-earned muscle. It doesn't prevent you from building muscle. I know it seemed like it, right? I'm exerting this effort. That could have been for one more rep, 5 more reps. Like you said, skip, progressive overload, right? Well, it's just a reason to not do the cardio. I can understand how cardio is boring, but it's not going to melt off your muscle. Regardless, oh no, that happened to me. No, it did not. Okay. Unless you just did some extreme marathon, even that won't necessarily. That's the truth. All right. And it's not to prevent you from building muscle or take away from your weight training. So a lot of guys don't weight train. I mean, when they do know the example cardio, they separate it. Like they come back to the gym 10, 12 hours later, to do their cardio just to separate. And it is not that complicated. That is not needed. That is not what an older man with a busy, productive life would do or he needs to do. But here's the thing about cardio. You want to do it for health reasons now that you're older. Man, heart health, right? Talk about, from diabetes, high blood pressure to cholesterol. All right. We want to get that blood circulating. All right. We want to get our oxygen circulating. We want our heart, 3 times a week, 30 minutes. It's for longevity and heart health. That's what we should do when we're a little bit older. The younger guys, they won't talk about it in that context because all they care about is getting big and huge and building muscle. Man, they haven't been 55 yet. I'm telling you, it's important to work your heart. All right? Okay, so you do cardio for health reasons, and those are the organizing principles when it comes to cardio. All right? Those weight increases, okay, that you're getting, all right? Those rapid weight increases, okay? Those aren't muscle, okay? So when you start saying, hey, my progress, I gained 3 pounds when I first started training or whatever, and now it's stagnant. That wasn't muscle. You need to understand that. Look, we need to lift weights to train to keep what we have as we get older, all right? We're going to need that muscle when we're older to be functional, all right, as we get older, okay? We're going to need it later. It's just not that fast or easy to build muscle, like people may say. And it's also not impossible to build muscle, like a lot of younger guys say when you're older, all right? But I don't know what you expect, but those weight increases, it's not muscle lost or muscle gained. Even if you're consistent, not in a 2-month period of time, 3-month, not even a year period of time. It's just not easy to pack on muscle. That's something that's very unpopular when I say on the internet, right? But it's important or you're not going to understand. You're going to see your weight fluctuating or it's not going to gain. You're not going to like what you in the mirror. You're going to quit. You're going to change your routine. You're going to change your diet. You're going to just double down on another training routine. You're going to forget about the diet for a while. You're never going to get this if you don't know about that weight, what is muscle and isn't muscle. All right. You may be doing your weight training perfectly. All right. But your expectations are off. The last 10 things I'm going to talk about are going to be about your expectations and nutrition. But if you don't know what to expect and you think those rapid weight gains are muscle, or they should be muscle, you're going to have a real hard time. All right. Let's talk more a little bit about weight training. All right. And there's so much that you do, just like exercise, and you can shape the muscle. Well, I want a bigger upper chest, or I want the man boobs, or whatever it may be, bigger arms, or this or that, right? If they go, well, if I do this exercise, like all these different exercises, like I'm shaping the muscle like clay. Look, the shape of your muscles are two things. One is genetic. Okay, I guess the other is how much muscle you build overload over time, right? Or how new you are over, and then it's how lean you are. Right, you're not going to shape the muscle by, doing, and I know they say this all the time, they're looking ripped and they do this little exercise. It's not even overload. It just makes the muscle fibers, the striations ripple in the upper chest. And so they say, hey, this is good for upper chest. All right. It's not how it works, even though it seems like it would work that way. Look, just pick 3, maybe 4 exercises at the most for every body part that you're training, and then work on that overload. All right. And you are going to be what you are, the shape. You're going to build that muscle with that overload. The shape is what it is, and you get lean to see the shape. And I'm going to talk about that. How lean you are is really going to matter, how much muscle that you think that you've earned. So you don't need all these exercises for every body part. 3, maybe 4 at the most. Okay. So as I talk about, there's something that you may come to the conclusion, everybody may on the internet giving their comments to weight training routines and say what works for them, or a personal trainer might say to you, everybody's different, right? And so you'll never know if you're doing it right. Is there a better training routine or diet out there? Everybody is different when it comes to weight training. Got to find that perfect routine for you. Let me just tell you something. There are certain organizing principles that work for everybody. Now, what makes people different, and that's where my one-on-one coaching is, everybody understands things differently, they have different goals, different perceptions of what's being said. And I don't know what it is that you do for a living. Let's just say you're a real estate agent. You're a professional, you're a real estate agent where, you've closed like hundreds of these deals with houses, and when it comes to all the paperwork and the qualifying and all the obstacles, all right? And that's what you're there for. You provide a service so they don't have to go through that trial and error. They might quit with all that trial and error. They may make wrong decisions or figure it out later with all that trial and error if they're persistent enough, or they might just get overwhelmed again and walk away. That's what you're there for, right? What if they came to you and think, well, everybody's different. Well, this loan work, the vast majority works the same for most people. It's their understanding of it. I guess there is some variance, but it's really people are different. How they understand things, their goals are different. How important is different, right? But don't fall in the belief that everybody is so different. It's like a snowflake, whether that's the other men commenting on the internet saying, well, this worked for me. Well, everybody's different, right? Or, somebody who's frustrated, somebody who's even successful. And the way they do it, they do all these things that are the opposite of what I say, but they still have a great physique, so they can be successful, all right? Or, the personal trainer that says, hey, everybody's different, right? There are certain organizing principles that I'm giving to you when it comes to weight training that make any strategy work. There are certain things that make any weight training strategy work, all right? And there are situations that make every diet work. And when you know what those are, all right, you're going to understand this. You're going to have a lot better journey going through this. You'll finally make it to the other side and have it for the rest of your life. All right, so that's 10. These next 10, again, they're going to be about nutrition and expectations, mindset, what to expect. Because if you don't understand the expectations, you're going to have a real hard time. You could be doing everything right, but it doesn't feel right. All right. So I am going to assume, right, for this audio presentation that you want to lose body fat. You either want to lose a lot, you're 55 years old or so, you never really worked out, took care of your family and your business. I respect that. All right. But now you have more time and you just have a lot of body fat. All right. Or, you look pretty good, but you can look better, and that's great because there is a higher level. And what you see is you've got, 10 pounds of body fat that you want to lose, all right? So losing body fat. Now, I'm not saying you don't want to build muscle either, but as I talk about this, what's it take to lose body fat, even when you look pretty good or, you don't look pretty good? I'm going to assume all that, right? So the first thing, number 10, is this whole calorie deficit thing. So if you're the type of guy to fill out a questionnaire, right, listen all the way through this audio recording, right, and then we have a follow-up conversation, you must be really committed. So I have a feeling that you've watched a lot of videos, and right now, oh God, on the internet, so calorie deficit. You got to be in a calorie deficit. But what calorie deficit from what? From what? How much? What? Most guys don't even know how many calories that they eat to know what a deficit is. So if they don't know how much they eat, well, what would be 200 calories? What would be 500 calories? What would that even be? All right? There has to be a starting point. Let me just tell you something. I could take the 10 men who are listening to this, right? They can all look exactly the same. But they've conditioned their bodies either through really inconsistent habits or even consistent habits. They could be 900 calories a day. Most men, they come to me, and if you're like most men, you have no idea how many calories you're making this guess of 2,000, and that may or may not be accurate. Most men have no idea how many calories that they're eating. And I'm going to explain why it's important. And even the oh my God, you were right, Skip. I'm eating 1,200 calories, right? Okay. So they have eaten 1,200 calories, 1,500 calories. I've had some that are really indeed eating 2,000 calories, 2,200 calories. I've even had some guys who look good that are eating, older guys that are eating 3,500 calories. That's very few and far between. You can condition your body, if you know what you're doing, to use a lot of food or the food you just fell into as the right amount. And your bodies will all look the same. But that doesn't mean it's the right amount. That's not optimal. That doesn't mean, hey, you're eating 1,200 calories. Man, you could eat 1,000 calories more, have more energy, more strength, build more muscle. Your body will look better. You'll turn on the ignition of metabolism and burn fat. And you could eat 1,000 more calories a day. Right? That's not, if you don't know where you are, what would be a calorie deficit? All right? Because the guy who conditions his body who looks just like you, and that's 3,500 calories, I give him a 500 calorie deficit. He's living life. He's losing fat. He's eating 3,000 calories. I give a guy who maybe eating 1,200 calories. You put him a 500 calorie deficit. They look exactly the same. Their bodies look the same, believe it or not, of what they condition. All right? Well, he's eating 700 calories a day. They're going to live totally different existence. Their body, their performance, their mental thinking, their sleep ability, their strength in the gym, the way they look is going to be massively different. So calorie deficit, I know it must be frustrating, and you might skim over that and just say, I know, calorie deficit. But you don't know. A calorie deficit from what? You got to know that, all right? Which goes to number 11. You have to know how many calories you're eating. All right. Now, let me tell you, when I say this, I'm not saying you got to count every morsel. Is that cooked, or is that when I weigh it? Do I weigh with a scale? Do I got to put these in? I'm not saying all that. A lot of the men, maybe you listening to this, probably are already in a pattern of eating like the same foods. They're satisfying. You're not some foodie. Maybe on the weekends, probably eating the same amount of food, same types of food. And I'm going to talk about how that matters or it doesn't matter. Right? You probably have an amount that you've regulated that earned this body. But is it enough? If you don't know, I can't tell you to eat more food. All right, to experience what I said, all those benefits. Can't tell you to eat less food because you don't know. You got to know how many calories you're eating. I know they tell you, oh, it's all these guys who, they've done it for so long. They've done it through trial and error. All right? Do you at 55 or so, do you got the next 5 years to figure it out? Because they did. they got to trade the gym for 2 hours or whatever. Yeah, I don't need to count my calories, right? Because I've gone through a process. I know what it takes. I felt what it takes. I'm certain about what it takes. And then I narrow down the foods and, but it's the right amount. Is it the right amount of you? I don't know. You don't know if you don't know how many calories. Most men have no idea. The ones who do tell me, which is probably, 20% of all the thousands of men I talk about, 20% will make a guess, right? And a lot of them I may never talk to again, except for they came to me for some knowledge, but they're not going to change, right? They didn't take it any further to coaching. And the ones that I do take of coaching, when they check it, it's never the amount they think, all right? Very few have actually really checked and gone through. So how can you improve if you don't know how many calories? I mean, it seems so simple, but I know you hear just the opposite. Oh, I'm not a calorie counter. I don't need calorie counters. I look this way and I never counted my calories. Okay, great. If you're happy, then why are we even here? You're just looking for some motivation? Great. But if you're looking for the next level, right, is what you're looking like now and what you're doing, is it getting you to the next level? If it is, great. If it's not, well, you may need to do something different, even though it's kind of worked in the past. And by the way, if you're counting your macros, well, I don't count calories. I just count macros. Look, when you're counting your macros, you're counting your calories by default. All right. So if it's 100 grams of protein, you multiply that by times 4, that's 400 calories. If it's 100 grams of carbs times 4, that's 400 calories in carbs. And the fat, right? 30 grams of fat, 9 times 9, right? 270, right? You're counting your calories. You're just taking out the arithmetic. So there is no difference between counting calories and counting macros, except for someone's led you to believe that they gave you some precise numbers of protein, carbs. They figured out the ratio for you, and you're thinking that's the magical thing. It's the calories, all right? Not so much the ratio, and I want to talk about that in a couple of points too. All right. Okay, number 12. Quality of food doesn't matter. Okay? Quality of food doesn't matter when you're trying to build muscle and lose body fat. Now I'm going to on my next point, especially for us older guys, I'm going to build upon that and clear that up, all right? So quality of food doesn't matter. So, when men come to me, right? Hundreds of men, and I got it. Nutrition is such an important part of this. You've heard that, you hear that, but they really still don't know how important it is. And so I'll say, well, do you know how many calories they eat? Knowing that they really don't, and they probably put no importance on that. They don't say, well, should I? No, they just go on and they tell me about all the foods they eat. All right, and I'm assuming this is the best case scenario. I don't need to know that you ate 2 egg whites and oatmeal with blueberries or whatever your best case scenario is. It comes down to calories primarily, protein, carbs, and fat, right? And getting that right amount, being consistent with making not too much, not too little, finding that right amount, being consistent and know what to expect. That's what makes, every diet work, right? Am I saying just eat whatever? Am I saying that certain foods don't affect your hormones and may add into what you look like in the mirror? No, I'm not saying that, right? But what I'm saying is people say, well, I eat donuts, I eat pizza, and I still look good. Yeah, because it comes down to what I talked about, the calories and not the quality of food. It's not like, man, I've just eaten so perfectly chicken and vegetables and whatever you think are the perfect foods, and then I ate a pizza. Now my body's just, oh man, that 600 calories of pizza just deteriorated my body and it made it go backwards, right? So there aren't necessarily good foods or bad foods. It's the bigger picture, especially over time. But here's number 13. Quality of food does matter when you're a little older and you want to be healthy and fit, right? Diabetes, high blood pressure, cholesterol, all right? Heart issues. I mean, all of those things are your diet and your quality of food and processed food, right? So the younger guys say, hey, mix in a donut, mix in some pizza. Doesn't matter. Well, yeah, for them, because the older you get, and I don't even care if you look good, you're relatively lean, you're not fat, you eat well, the quality of food starts mattering the older you get. And I'm telling you guys, been fit, my entire life. and I got to think about food choices, right? I was never a health nut. I didn't go crazy, obviously, but food does matter, the quality of food. So when you're hearing that it's just about calories, food is a food, calorie is a calorie. Well, that's true if you're a younger man who wants to just build muscle and lose body fat. We can't think that way. That's very important. That is one distinction you're not going to get. You're not going to get that from the younger guys. All right. Number 14, your macronutrient ratio. So many, this nutrition is it's so confusing. What is the right macronutrient ratio? 42% protein, only 27% fat, and keep the fat low at 22% or whatever, right? Okay. It does not need to be precise. I don't care what that personal trainer tells you who's selling you an online coach, right? This is all centered around calories. Again, not eating too much, not eating too little, but you got to know how much you're eating. When you find that amount, you're consistent with it, and then you know what to expect. What changes are going to happen when you're adhering to this diet and this workout? What changes are going to happen on the scale, in the mirror, and in what time frame, so you can continue doing it. All right. It is based on those calories. And if your protein is 30 to 40% of those calories, if your carbohydrates are 30 to 40% of those carbs, and your fats don't make you fat, and carbs don't make you fat, right? If it's 20 to 30% fat, you're fine. For especially what we're trying to do. All right? You got to remember that. All right? So don't make it's centered around weight. Now, again, the carbs things, if you have diabetes, you're going to have to make some exceptions. But if it's around 30 to 40% protein, 30 to 40% carbs, 20 to 30% fats, you're fine. It's those calories that are driving that consistency. Not eating too much, not eating too little. When you find that amount, you're consistent with it. All right? And then you know what to expect for your body, so you don't change it unnecessarily. All right? All right. This is the thing you got to remember. Number 15, the easiest thing to do as a coach is to tell you to cut your calories, to eat less, right? That's the easiest thing in the world to do. All right, you get short-term gratification. If you can't tough it out, it's your own fault. It's not the coach's fault. All right, you get short-term gratification, but you're setting yourself up by just cutting calories for failure. It's not sustainable. You're going to be miserable. And if you don't, and long before you understand that you're miserable, not as strong, how this is affecting you, you might be consumed because you're losing pounds on the scale or losing inches. Let me tell you, it's going to be noticeable to all the people around you, your coworkers, how grouchy you are by cutting those calories, even if you look good and you're making progress, right? You want to do this in a sustainable manner. So here's the thing. You may have to eat more than what you're eating or what you think you should eat to look better. And I know you're going to have to just take that leap of faith and go on a journey. When I take men on coaching, I could give them all of this information. But when it gets down to it and how it feels doesn't feel right, they just repeat back to doing everything you may be doing now and keeping from that next level. You may need to eat more, right? But guess what? You can cut fat at a faster rate. You live a better quality of life. All right, you have more energy, you sleep better, more strength in the gym, more strength to handle your life challenges. All right, stay up later with more energy, right? And most importantly, it's sustainable. Eating more when you get this all figured out, maybe what you do. But you have to know how this really works and what to expect to make that happen. Okay, number 16. You must know how weight loss really happens when you do it right. Okay? And here's the thing is, people say this, you can't focus on the scale, right? The scale is helpful, but you have to know how it works. It's a valuable tool if you know how it works. It's the worst tool if you see all these fluctuations and you think, wow, I'm doing something wrong. Let me change my routine, change my diet. This isn't working. Because there's certain patterns with weight when you do everything right. It's going to be a counter to. It's going to, for the average person who doesn't understand all these things that I'm telling you, they're going to be in doubt. They're going to quit. They're going to be confused because of the weight. When I take men on one-on-one coaching, I have them weigh themselves every morning and every night. All right. There's a lot of reasons for that. And because of the accountability, right, they're doing everything right. So they're doing everything right. They know, the effort that the goals set, the standards set for working out and eating. So they know they're doing it right. But the weight, it doesn't participate the way they think. And if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't have someone to tell you, you're going to quit because of that weight. And totally avoiding the scale, I mean, I guess you can do that. But what are you going to base it on? Your feelings, your progress to keep on going, or if something's working? You're going to base it on the mirror? You know how tricky that is. I want to talk to you about that too. All right? So the weight thing, you got to know what to expect. It's not, I think you may know, I'm not sure about this, if it's true of everybody, that you'll weigh more at night than you are in the morning. It has nothing to do with you gain muscle. It has nothing to do that you lost fat, right? But did you know that every single day it'll vary on the scale in the morning? Most people don't weigh themselves enough to know that could be 2 pounds up and you're doing everything right. Those 2 pounds just come down and you're 3 pounds down 3 days later. All right. So if you just say you were to weigh yourself every week, every Monday, right? And then last week, you're the same. You had an impeccable week of following through. Man, something's not working. Didn't lose any weight. Or maybe you gained a pound. Maybe you gained 2 pounds. Maybe you lost 2 pounds. All that information without knowing what it does every single day, you shouldn't be so proud of yourself for losing the 2 pounds. I mean, if you look good, you look good, but that's just part of the measurement. And you shouldn't feel bad if it stayed the same or you went up 2 pounds when you know how this works and you're doing everything right. You got to know how that weight loss really works and know that your fitness expert is usually a short-term relationship. They're just giving you something that'll work in the short term, and they'll just back you into a corner and stall and leave you uncertain, and you won't know how to do this forever. You got to know how that weight loss, really happens. Okay. One thing too is you got to remember, the body, it's 35% muscle. The muscle is 70% fluid. All right. So, if you're always just eating 900 calories or 1,200 calories, you're always just depleted. You may like that. It may look good on the scale. But once you start eating the amount of food you should be eating to give you energy and strength and sleep better and burn muscle more efficiently and really optimize your metabolism, you may gain 3 pounds. All right. But you feel better. Your waist is coming down because those muscles are just volumized. Again, you got to understand, and most men are under eating. They're in that case. So when I take them on a program, they may gain 2 pounds. All right. So it's important. All right. Number 17, you're not losing muscle when you're losing that size. So many men, they like their muscle. They want to build muscle. That's why they're going to the gym. All right. They go on a diet. They drop the pounds. And they think, I must be doing this wrong. Something's wrong. I'm losing all my muscle. People are telling me I look skinny. They're asking me if I even work out. That is not muscle that you're losing. Unless you're starving yourself and you're training like a maniac, it really wasn't muscle to begin with. That weight on the scale, that size, it wasn't quality muscle. It's not that easy to build, and it's not that easy when you're working to lose that muscle. It was just size. And if you think that's muscle, you're not going to continue dieting. Especially your first 10 pounds or so, you look like garbage, even though you lost 10 pounds. All right? And you're thinking, well, why would I do this for another 2 months? I'd look twice as bad now. No, that's not the case. You just don't know how the process works. And if you don't know how the process works, you're never going to get to the other side. You're not losing that muscle. I have so many men. They're like 6 foot. They weigh 225 pounds. And, they think that's muscle. That is so hard on the heart. All right. Look, I'm 5'11". I've been doing this for 34 years, right? And, I'm about 210, 215. So some of these guys are well under, and they think that 225 is a lot of muscle, and they can't go under it. It's not muscle. All right. So number 18. Okay. Whether you're fat, you got a few extra pounds, or you're skinny. Okay. The weight on the scale is not going to match up to your expectations. All right. Most likely, you're going to weigh a lot less, but you're going to look so much better. Again, people say, wow, you look like you're 240 pounds. That's what they guess. Because when you're lean, it shows all your work. It shows the shape of the muscle that's covered by fat. It blurs it all out. When you get lean, you look huge. Maybe wearing, not an extra large shirt, you're just wearing a large, or wearing a large, or wearing a medium, but you look amazing in it. That's the illusion of size. So if you think those extra pounds, you're losing them, you don't understand how it works, you're going to have a problem. Most likely, those 10 pounds are more than 10 pounds if you're ever going to make it to where you say you want to go and where I am. All right. You got to know that when you're lean, it's everything. It makes you look just amazing, and you won't weigh as much on the scale. All right. You got to remember that. Okay. Number 19, you can't rely on the mirror, all right, to see if you should stick to your plan, if your workout's working or your diet's working. Because the mirror plays tricks on you. I mean, how many times you say, wow, I'm looking good. This is all working, right? And then 2 hours later, you look at it and you think, man, I thought I looked better, right? Especially if you take a picture or you see yourself in a video. You might say, oh, man, I knew it wasn't perfect, but I thought I looked better than that. Well, Skip said you can't use the scale. Tell me I can't use the mirror? Well, you could, but the most reliable thing, and let me just tell you, it's going to feel like a sock in the gut, is to take pictures every week. That's what I have my guys do. Take a picture every week, same mirror, same time of day, same clothes, same distance from the mirror, same angles, same everything, same lighting, same camera, right? Same place mirror in the house. All right. And let me tell you, even though you have some work to do, you're going to look at that and you're going to go, damn, I thought I looked better than that. That's everybody. It's going to be like a big sock in the gut. But you keep on going. And again, this is why this journey is so tough. You keep on going. You're going to look at it 4 weeks later. You're going to keep on going. You're going to look better. And you're going to look back on this picture they took 4 weeks before that was like a sock in the gut. You're so disgusted with yourself and say, wow, I've improved a lot. Good thing I took that picture. But also, you're going to say, I didn't look that bad. It's an emotional process. This, if you don't know how it works, it's tough to make it to the other side. And there's emotional traps that way. Okay, I'm going to wrap this all up. Why are there so many things? You just said, I mean, I could go through this. Some guys say never weigh yourself. Some guys say don't count your calories. Some guys don't take pictures of yourself. Some say the nutrition ratios matter. All right, I mean, it seems like, Skip, all of these things you said, they say the opposite. Let me just tell you something. Most of the information that is presented, they don't go into nuance. It's too hard to communicate. So I want to follow up to see if this is even working for you, or it makes you more confused, or you just, why is he saying true when everybody says the opposite, right? But most of the information is personal preference of that person. I gave you my experience back then. All right, listen, the things that I did, really, 80% of them may have been optimal, something I learned, but they didn't matter. All right, eating, I'll throw in another one. You don't need to eat 6 times a day. 2-3 meals, you hit your calorie goal, that all matters. Man, I ruined my life, man. Stopping eating every 2 hours to be the best. I was the best, but it wasn't because 2 hours. What quality of life did that cost me? You're not going to do all these things. It's a lot of personal preference from extreme young fitness experts like I used to be. They're not old enough to know what really matters. They don't know your priorities, all right? Okay? But most of them, their personal opinion or their preferences, even if it's optimal, even if there was some scientific study, right? If you want to believe that, right? They don't matter. The things that matter are these 20 things, all right? So be proactive. Reach out to me, 925-352-4366. Tell me what you thought of this, all right? If you want me to put this all together and take you through I've got a coaching package where I can kind of talk to you for an hour, can go into this deeper, right? 6 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever it takes. If this is important, you made it through, this hour and 5 minutes. But I'm gonna follow up with you with an email, a text, or a phone call, right? Tell me what you think. Get ready, right? Actually, you know what you can do? You can go to skiplacour.com/review, REVIEU, skiplacour.com/review. That's with my coaching clients. After every coaching session, I gave you an hour here. After every coaching session, I wait till the next day. So I let these thoughts marinate. And then I have them fill out that form, what they took away from it, so they lock it in. You want to be proactive? Reach out to me, 925-352-4366. Go to skiplacour.com/review. Let me see that coming through. Let's talk about it. And again, if you want to really take this next level, you can see how all this nuance, I put you through the journey, I force you through the journey, accountable, I keep you going even when you feel uncertain, how one-on-one coaching can benefit you. So reach out, be more than happy to talk about that with you, even if you decide that one-on-one coaching isn't for you. Or I decide, man, you know what, you're not quite ready. You're meeting your goals for what you're willing to do right now. You don't need my coaching. It's probably not best for you. Whatever it is, we'll get a chance to talk. All right, so take these words of 34 years and talking to literally thousands of men and applying all this. And it's my sincere wish and my sincere desire that it gets you to the next level that you're looking for, to have the quality of life, not just in the mirror, right? Building muscle, losing body fat, looking great, feeling confident the way you look, but how you feel for the rest of your life.